All right. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our webinar series on business texting. My name is Lynn. I am the product lead at VirtualPBX for business texting, and I will be your host today. With me is Rachel Anderson. She will be assisting in chat today. Now that we've gotten the formality out of the way, let's review what we'll cover in today's webinar. We'll start with an overview of business texting, covering who makes the laws, policy, and guidelines, as well as regulations. So lots of really fun stuff. Next, we'll review some best practices, how to keep your business compliant when messaging your customer. Then we'll analyze some sample messages. And at that time, feel free to post any questions that you may have in the chat, and we will answer those live as well. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. When it comes to business texting, there are three types of messaging: conversational, informational, and promotional messages. Each type of messages has its own purposes and can be used to achieve different results. For conversational messaging, it's typically intended to engage customer in a two-way conversation, such as answering customer questions, provide support, or simply to stay in touch, which can really help build relationship with your customer base. Informational messages are used to provide customer with information about products, service, or events, and can be used to announce new product or updates on existing products. Typically, these are used to educate and keep the customer informed. Promotional messages are used to promote products or services to customers that can offer them discount, coupon, or other incentive to encourage the customer to buy. Essentially, it's a great way to boost your bottom line. Now, depending on which type of messaging your business use case fall under, consent from your customer may be required. And as you can see here, there are different types of consent depending on your business intended use case. For conversational messages, this type of consent is typically implied, as the customer usually initiate the conversation. However, it is important to make sure that the customer is aware and that they are participating in a conversation, and they do have the option to end the conversation at any time. Informational. This requires express consent, which is typically obtained either verbally or in writing. Businesses should make sure that the information that they're sending to the customer is relevant and accurate for that specific customer. Now, for promotional, these requires the highest level of consent, and it must be obtained in writing, through a form, or even on your website form, and should be clear and concise. It's important to make sure that the customer understand that they're consenting to receive promotional-based messages, and they do have the option to opt out at any time. Another thing that's worth noting, in many cases, it can be unclear whether a text message is considered informational or promotional. So for that reason, we do recommend that you obtain the highest level of consent in cases where you'll be sending informational message, just to keep you on the compliance side. The most important thing when dealing with consent is that you'll be required to get consent for each use case. So what I mean by that is, in an instance where the customer did opt in to receive notification regarding an order update or a status update regarding our product, that really falls under informational messaging. So you wouldn't be able to use that same opt-in consent to send them promotional-based messages. Well, now that we've kind of gone over the basic rules, let's take a look at who makes the laws and the regulations. In the US, business texting and compliance law is governed by the Federal Communication Commission and the Federal Trade Commission. These are the lawmakers that sets the rules for all participants in the mobile ecosystems to follow. The FCC regulates the media and phone communication, and they essentially set the regulations that all wireless carriers must enforce. And the FTC handle complaints from consumers to crack down on violations of consumer protection laws from businesses that use calls or texts. Next is the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. It is a federal law that regulates the use of automated telephone system, including texting. The TCPA requires businesses to obtain prior express consent from consumer before sending them text messages, specifically for marketing basis. And there needs to be some sort of opt-in and opt-out messaging. Businesses that violates TCPA can be fined up to $1,500 per violation per message. So just be sure to follow the compliance rule. Lastly, the Cellular Telecommunication Industry Association, it's quite a mouthful, or better known as the TCIA, is a trade organization for the US-based wireless carrier. They are responsible for publishing SMS compliance guideline that is typically used in the SMS registration process today. Now, if you've gone through the SMS registration, you probably noticed the required information are really some from the 4 principles in the guideline, which we'll cover in a moment. They essentially provide the baseline for all requirements of business SMS communication. These key principles are you need to display clear call to action, customer needs to make aware of exactly what they're signing up to receive, offer a clear opt-in mechanism. The customer must consent to opt in to all reoccurring messaging program. So this means that the customer must explicitly agree to receive messages before you can send them. Opt-in mechanism can be simple as a checkbox on the website or as complicated and complex as a 2-step verification, or even in some instances double opt-in. Sending opt-in confirmation. For reoccurring messaging program, confirmation message must include clear opt-out instructions. What this means is that customer must be able to easily opt out of receiving messages. And then those acknowledge opt-out requests. Service provider must acknowledge and act upon all opt-out requests, which essentially means that a service provider that you use, like virtual text, will have mechanism in place to prevent you from texting the customer that have opted out from your messaging program through using keywords. However, if those customers choose to opt out in alternative means, like through a call or through email, it is the responsibility of the business to ensure that you are in compliance and have removed those customers from receiving additional message unless they re-engage with you. In addition to the TCPA and the TCIA, there are a number of other state and federal laws that do regulate business texting, but these laws can vary from state to state. So it's important to be familiar with the laws that applies to your business. Now, with all the laws and regulation around SMS, you might wonder, why should your business use texting at all? Well, there are many benefits to using text messaging as a channel of communication for your business. It's a great way to connect with customer, to send reminder, updates, and special offers. It can help drive sales by promoting products, service, and discount. It can increase the customer engagement by sending surveys, polls, and other interactive content. It can also help build brand awareness by sending messages that promotes your company product, service, and value. With numerous benefits and a 98% open rate, it's easy to see why businesses loves texting. And now that we've gone over all the really fun stuff, let's take a look at some of the sample messages and their use case. So as you can see here in this example, The message content is clear, concise, and easy to understand. It includes all the required information, such as the name of the business, the purpose of the text message, the frequency, and how the customer can opt out. This would be a great example to use at the beginning of a promotional message campaign to set the expectation for those customers. Now, if you look at this example, this clearly isn't the greatest example. There's no clear identifier for the business. It includes a short link, which for most consumer, it's associated with spam messaging. So overall, this message looks risky for customers and most likely won't get much of a response or can be flagged as spam. Keep in mind, sending the wrong message can be costly for your business. So here's another example that you could potentially use for your business. In this scenario, we opted to use 2 message segments. In the first segment, we identify our purpose for engagement. And in the second segment, it's all about the compliance portion that we just reviewed, right? And there are many ways that you can structure your message content while maintaining compliance for your business. So with that, here are some main key points to really keep your business informed to ensure that it can stay compliant when sending customer text messages. It's important to get permission from your customer before sending them text messages. It will help to ensure that they're not annoyed or being bombarded with unwanted messages. You can get permission from customer by asking them to opt in to your texting program. In instance where they're making a purchase, they're signing up for your email list, or even when they're visiting your website. It's important to make sure that the customer is aware that when they're signing up for your text messaging program, they are consenting to receive marketing messages from you. You'll want to use double opt-in process to confirm that the customer has in fact consent to receive messaging. And in this scenario, your first message to the customer would be to ask them to confirm that they did receive a message from you. And if they reply with yes, then you can add them to your contact list and keep sending them messages. Next, you'll want to keep your message short and to the point. SMS message should be clear and easy to understand. You'll want to avoid using technical terms that your customer may not be familiar with. Personalizing your message will help them feel more relevant and helps engage with the customer. And you can personalize your message by using things like the customer name, the location, or purchase history. And when sending text message, make sure to send them during what's considered as reasonable hours. Reasonable hours are during 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. So avoid sending messages outside of those time frame, as it can be considered harassment in many instances. You'll also want to avoid sending messages that can contain misleading or deceptive information, or information that can be spam-like content, as they can be damaging to your business and lead to a loss of customer. Overall, your message should offer value to your customer, and this can include exclusive offer, discount, or even helpful information. Respect the consumer opt-out requests. And ultimately, if a customer asks you to stop texting them, you should immediately stop sending them a message, and to avoid future confusion, remove them from your contact list. By following these rules and tips, it can help you ensure that your business stay compliant when engaging with customers. Now, for the finale, let's see if we have any questions. While we wait to see if there are any questions in the live chat, just a heads up, we'll be sending you a follow-up email with the webinar recording and some links to our blog content, including lots of helpful guides on business texting to help you on your business texting journey. Well, If there are no additional questions, it was a pleasure sharing this insight with you. If you need any further assistance or have additional questions later on, please reach out to us with the information on screen. Thank you everyone for attending. You have a wonderful day.